Okay, everyone, welcome back. Really excited today to chat to Brice Douglas, who is the CEO and co-founder of Zaymo. Zaymo is a tool that I think most people are familiar with now, but for those who don't know, it lets you do some super cool things directly within the email, like swap, add to your subscriptions, and basically take actions like you were in the checkout on the site directly. And today, we're going to talk specifically around subscriptions for D2C brands and some interesting data that Brice has came across in lots and lots of testing and analysis he's seen with the brands who work with Zaymo. And hopefully we're going to dispel some myths and maybe give some people really interesting insights around, for example, should you send an order upcoming email? When will it cause churn? When's it an opportunity to increase LTV, etc.? So Brice, really excited to have you here because I know you've got a lot of juicy insights to share.
I'm excited to be here too, Adam. Love chatting with you.
Well, let's just start off with the big one that I think is always on people's minds is should you or should you not send the order upcoming emails? What are you seeing through the merchants that work with you? And is there ways, if it does cause churn, that you can reframe this to be a positive amplifier for the brand?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a very valid concern that a lot of brands have because most of the times if you just send a billing reminder normally, you will cause a spike in churn. I mean, we could talk about whether this is the right or wrong thing to do, but not talking to people who are subscribed to you in the short term does make it so they're less likely to remember you exist and keep the billing going. But if you frame these communications in the right way, we've been able to see across our brands ways to completely mitigate that spike and also turn that communication into something positive. So, when we do a lot of tests with our brands on how billing reminders specifically can impact subscribers, it usually comes down to the options and the way we're framing this communication. And when we come out the other end, we're always increasing LTV rather than decreasing it.
Is there a specific threshold where the order upcoming email specifically tends to not spike churn as much? I know it's a bit of a platitude in subscriptions, but the churn risk is obviously potentiated right from orders 1 to 3. I'm guessing after that period, do you perceive it more of a upsell, cross-sell opportunity as opposed, to a churn risk?
Yeah, great point. So the further along someone's been subscribed to you, the less that a reminder is going to throw them off because they've been receiving your product for months. So that's absolutely true. Although even on like the first or second reminder, we see it as an ample upsell cross sell opportunity. There's not a lot of reasons to hold off until later. Um, so for example, some upsell cross sell plays that work really well is a classic one we see is going from 1 month to a quarterly subscription or an annual subscription or a semi-annual subscription. Those offers for a lot of brands exist on the product page. But if you're capturing someone through Meta and they're interacting with your brand for the first time, one, a subscription is already a big ask, and that happens sometimes. But an even bigger ask is to say, hey, commit quarterly here with us or commit annually. So we see the retention marketing side as a great lever to pull for people who already love your product. And in the billing reminder, you can say, hey, your order's upcoming. Do you want to save an extra 20% by pre-ordering your next 3 months right now? And then you can do that however you want. But with Zaymo, we can actually put that inside of the email and make it a one-click action where they never have to log in the portal and never even have to see the cancel button as an option on their screen.
Yeah, I like the way you're reframing that specifically as like a reward for the customer. I'm assuming that even though we're talking about the order upcoming emails, this is equally as applicable to a one-time purchaser, right, who's not subscribed. So you can trigger this around, let's say, 25 or 30 days after that initial order, depending on the product frequency and how often it's designed to be used.
Yeah, because that person has interacted with your brand at that point and may be an advocate who's just purchased one time on one-off.
So if you could make one specific change to this email, let's say a brand is sending out the generic, hey, your order's coming up, we're going to bill you this, thank you for being a customer, what would be the number one change you would make to reduce churn?
I would say framing it as an opportunity to change their order before it comes. Again, you can do this however you want. Any brand can do this with your subscription provider. Probably has quick links. You can just push people to the portal. What I'll probably focus on is, since I'm founder of Zaymo, is embedding these options inside of the email itself, so these actions can be taken in channel. But when someone has the ability to say, change the flavor, change the size, change the delivery date, accelerate delivery date to be now, these types of actions give the customer the choice so they can make the subscription whatever they want it to be. When you think, now it can be really scary to say, hey, do you want to delay your order right now? But if you go back from like the customer experience, it makes a lot of sense. The number one reason for churn, if you kind of average all of direct to consumer, CPG type subscription brands, is having too much product. Because on a software subscription, it makes sense to bill every month or every period consistently. But when you're talking about consumables, every user treats consumables a little differently. So if I have a razor, my neighbor across the street's going to shave more often than I am and going to need refills at a different rate. And so by having someone who has too much protein powder or too many razors to just delay the order or change the frequency that they consume at, they will stick around for much longer and be much less likely to go log into the portal and say, I have too much stuff. My next obvious thing to do is just cancel the subscription.
Yeah, it's funny actually. I made a post about this morning. I think there is this fixation on, in my opinion, deceiving the customer for short-term gains that a lot of people in D2C are obsessed with. And as you've clearly pointed out there, that is the adversary to customer experience. And you might get some type of short-term gratification of getting someone to the second order, but it's at the expense of long-term LTV. And I think a lot of people think consumers are really stupid, but they're not. And then once you go into these type of dark patterns, it's very hard to reverse them and get back on a positive trajectory. So would you say leading with flexibility in the first specific order upcoming in particular would be the core take-home message, and just giving the power back to them to modify the subscription?
Absolutely. It's just giving your customers what they want. And if they can change your offering to be personalized to them, that's the best offering you can give. And that's how you win lifelong advocates. And to talk about the kind of negative potential impacts, we've done several holdout tests here. So, the best way you can measure the impact of a billing reminder is to not send one, and to send one to 50% of people and then measure the cohort that went through. And there's also two ways to look at it. You can look at the short-term benefits.
Correct, yeah.
And then you can look months down the road and measure LTV for these cohorts. And sometimes those can be opposite of each other. So this is what a typical thing will be. I'll just pick a coffee brand we work with, a pretty popular one. They were very worried about sending billing reminders to their customers. In fact, for several months leading up to this, they just hadn't sent anything. And so we proposed a holdout test. We say, hey, let's do 50% no reminder. 50% we'll put a reminder with tons of flexibility in it. And we will measure both the cancellation rate caused by these in the short term and then the long-term LTV. And what actually happened was, when the customers were given lots of choice, the billing reminder had zero impact on cancellations. Like, the cancellation rate was actually exactly the same across the two cohorts. But when we measured LTV over time, first of all, using the opportunity as a cross-sell already added revenue. And then second of all, these customers who had choice over their subscriptions of how to customize it for themselves were sticking around longer than the cohorts who didn't. And so the total spend across these were 10% higher across the entire cohort of people who did receive the reminder versus people who were kind of left to their own devices.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I think that sits well with me personally because I value transparency and being honest with people and not trying to deceive them. And it's nice to see the long term impact of that is that
The math
providing a good
backs you up.
customer. Yeah, they're just being a good person, right? Not trying to trick and deceive people wins in the long term. And again, I think people naively think, customers don't look at their bank statements or they don't realize a product's just turned up at their door. And you might, like you said, game things in the short term, but it's at the expense long term of what's best for the brand and all the downstream negative impacts like reviews and customer complaints and support tickets that you might get from tricking a customer into paying you more.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how much just offering flexibility kills support tickets. It has
Yeah,
a pretty measurable impact.
it's fascinating. Okay, so just to come on specifically then to upsell and cross selling, I know we've talked a little bit about it already, and there's going to be nuance to this, right? It's not like you can't do that in the beginning. Is there any particular optimal time where you've seen it works very effectively in the customer journey?
Yes, I would say two of them. First of all, just to stay relevant, the upcoming order email is one of those. So, if you're already communicating to your customer, using that opportunity to offer them value is amazing. Some strategies that work really well with that is giving a subscriber-only discount, or making the offer something that's actually valuable to your subscribers. The second that has been super powerful is a product launch.
Mhm.
So if you're a multi-product company where these different SKUs pair well together, sending an announcement, again, this is where a lot of people are scared to message subscribers at all in your campaigns or messaging. It's like, if I just leave them out of everything, maybe they'll stick around an extra month. But we've seen that by sending these product launches or special offers to your subscriber base, your take rate can be extremely high. And then when we layer on Zaymo on top of that, by embedding the CTA into the email with no redirect, we actually see an even 50% higher take rate than using a recharge or Stay AI quick link, for example. So just by making it so there's not a second click on a
Yeah.
quick link or logging into the browser, same offer, same timing, 50% higher than that, which is can be huge at scale.
Yeah, absolutely. It's simple, really, right? You're just removing friction from the customer journey and simplifying it for them.
Absolutely. So yeah, those are the two places I would say are no brainers to talk to your subscribers. The billing reminder, think of an offer that makes sense, and in a campaign, if there's an offer that makes sense that you're offering to your prospects, maybe consider having your subscribers there or having a more special offer for your subscribers.
Hmm.
And I'd be happy to share maybe a couple examples if that's helpful.
Yeah, feel free to go for it if you want to share your screen now. Happy to go over them.
Let's see. I have a page here on Zaymo.com. So there's just a library of examples that I've picked as useful. Let me show you just one or two here. So here's a brilliant billing reminder in my mind. So this brand Bite is a toothpaste brand. Measured over time, we ran an A/B test. This brand had a 13% lower cancellation rate by offering flexibility to the customer, and about a 50% increase in cross sells. So if you can just visualize this, maybe it'll make sense why. So this brand, let's say I have this fluoride-free toothpaste. Perhaps I got sold on Mint, I didn't love it, or I want to try something new. Right here in the email communication, I can swap over to Berry Twist, and that's the only action I've had to take. Maybe the toothpaste or deodorant I haven't used at the rate I expected. I can come here and delay a week. Now, let's say I'm a customer who have loved this. I'm familiar with the fluoride-free toothpaste, but I have not interacted much with the rest of the brand. This customer Bite is offering the customer two ways to increase their spend with the brand in a way that feels exclusive and special. So one way is just to upgrade to their daily habits kit. So it includes mouthwash, a toothbrush, different things there. And right here in the email, without logging in or seeing the cancellation, I, as the consumer, can come and claim my 10% off for the full kit and just subscribe like that to something larger. Or if I want maybe a smaller commitment, I can take that same percent off and scroll through these very, affordable add-ons that make a lot of sense to me to pair with my existing subscription. So I can come in and say, oh, I have floss is something I'm not using right now. This looks great for me. I'm familiar with the brand. I want to try the floss. And I like to say it's so easy that we've had to add an undo button, but that just shows up right here and will come with the rest of the order. So
Amazing.
just one small example, but you can see how just offering a library of choices to the customer that are personalized for their journey can be helpful for their long-term LTV.
It's so fascinating when you go over this example. Not only is it so cool to have this experience within the email itself, but I think for me, looking at it from the consumer's perspective, all the framing changes from this is exciting, like to have this type of experience in the inbox and to show the brand giving you this type of modular flexibility. And how could you not want to send this to someone as opposed to obfuscating and like trying to hide it from them? It just seems like it's a massive missed opportunity. And I think, again, for me, it comes back to if you're having to deploy these dark patterns to deceive someone, then you're not confident in your product and you shouldn't really be running a subscription program, because if you're selling something that people like, you should want to talk about it and communicate it to them, not just hope that they will buy it from you one time and then forget about it and never cancel it. It seems like a strange business to run, but to each their own.
Yeah, and I can feel empathy for that standpoint too. It makes sense. And to that point, there is a limit where it could cause harm. I wouldn't send generic random emails to your subscribers every day. But if you make sure that you do include them in valuable, personalized content that does increase the value of their experience interacting with you, those can be very, very powerful. And that's much better
Sure.
than nothing.
For sure, there is nuance to it, definitely. So just to finish on the final one, Brice, we've been going through the case studies that you have for Bubs and Focal, and you've seen a 21 to 24% drop in churn, which you called notification related churn. What do you mean by that? Can you elaborate a bit more and tell people about it?
Yeah. So the way we've measured in those is kind of a quick and dirty way of measuring the impact. It's just a lot of our brands use Klaviyo, so it has this attribution window to notifications. So we just measure the attributed churn to messages, and that's what we're saying there is notification related churn. Yeah, so when you say those case studies, it's just we will run two messages in Klaviyo, one being a normal notification, even like telling them to come back to the website and make positive changes, compared to embedding those changes inside of the email itself. And same copy, most of the same content except for that one block. And the difference in attributed churn is 20% in the short term. And then the LTV on there compounds over time.
Amazing. So let's finish on one tip that you have for subscription brands when it comes to email who want to increase LTV. What would be your take home message to them? If you could just give them one piece of advice that really moves the needle, what would you go for?
I'll give one take home principle and then one specific piece of advice. The number one principle is just give your customers the opportunity to make your subscription program what they want it to be. So whatever that looks like, obviously where I'm an expert in is these email SMS notifications. And if you embed stuff there, that's going to give them all the opportunity in the world to personalize. One other tip would be somewhere where you can just notify someone out the wazoo is once they're a canceled subscriber. So we've actually seen with our customers, our clients that we work with, if you can email someone who is canceled much more than you think, and the reactivations, if you make a very valuable offer, will just flow through. So one of our brands that we work with, they will send 3 messages after someone churns over the next 2 months saying, come back, here's a 1-click offer to return. And then after that, after they drop off that flow, I mean, this brand went further than even I recommended, but they sent an email every single week to the entirety of their churned customer base. And the take rate on these were huge. I mean, maybe 0.5%, which isn't huge in the grand scheme of things. But if you're sending that email every week and getting a very high take rate, you can see how that compounds on having these subscription customers come back just by being reminded that you exist.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it is a game of, I often say email a lot of the time is a game of impressions if we're not talking about active subscribers. So you need to stay top of mind somehow. And if you don't communicate with them, there's no opportunity to win them back or get them to make another purchase. So it makes sense what you're saying.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, we're going to wrap things up now, but do you want to finish with telling people how to contact you, the easiest way to get started with Zaymo? Feel free to take it from here.
For sure. Yeah, so you can contact me at brice@zaymo.com. I'm on LinkedIn, X as well. And if you go to Zaymo.com, you can see some examples that I didn't show here and actually get started with some of our functionality for free. So reach out if you have any questions. We're happy to give you an onboarding call.
Amazing. Brice, thank you for your time. I think you covered so many interesting strategies in such a short space of time, and there's a lot of food for thought for anyone running a subscription program. So this has been great. Thanks again.
Absolutely. Love talking with you, Adam.